Welcome back to the ultimate checklist for better photos. This is episode 2, and today we're tackling something that stops a lot of photographers in their tracks: knowing your camera. You can have the best composition and a great eye, but if you're still fumbling through settings, you're pretty much handcuffed. Creativity only flows when the technical side becomes second nature. Right, let's get into it. You can have the best composition, fantastic light, and a brilliant story in your head. But if you're still searching for buttons or guessing which style does what, your camera isn't a creative tool, it's a technical obstacle. Your camera should feel like an extension of your eye and hand, a natural part of how you see the world. When you really know your camera, and I mean really know it, everything changes. You stop thinking about the tool and start thinking about the image. You become fluid, confident, responsive, and able to adapt to any moment without panic. Now, whether you're photographing a sunset that lasts seconds or a candid moment at a wedding, you don't get second chances. The camera needs to follow your lead instantly. And I've been there. Shooting the first kiss at a wedding, there's no do-overs, no room for error. I couldn't afford to be thinking, where's that ISO setting again? Or maybe you're trying astrophotography at night. If you have to use a torch to find your settings, you'll destroy your night vision. And you will definitely not be popular with the other photographers around you because you'll have blown out their night vision as well. Knowing your camera means being ready, being present, being in control. It allows you to go from reacting to a scene to creating one. You definitely don't need to memorize every menu or watch hours and hours of reviews to understand your camera. You just need to master the core settings that affect how your image looks. Here's the basics you should know and briefly what each one does. The aperture controls how much light enters through the lens and affects depth of field. A low f number, like f2.8, means a blurry background, and a high f number, like f11, keeps more of your scene in focus. Shutter speed controls how long the camera's sensor is exposed to light. A fast shutter, like 1/1000th of a second, freezes motion. A slower shutter, like 1/30th of a second, can create motion blur or light trails, for example. ISO controls your sensor's sensitivity to light. A low ISO, say 100, is clean with less noise. A high ISO, like 3200 and higher, helps in dark conditions, but it can introduce grain. That said, modern cameras are excellent at handling high ISO settings. These tell the camera how to focus. Single AFS is for still subjects. Continuous AFC for moving subjects. And manual focus, where you take control and would typically be useful for landscape photographers. It also helps save your battery. Metering modes are basically how the camera reads light. Evaluative or matrix balances the whole frame. Center weighted focuses on the middle portion. Spot metering measures just a tiny area, which is great for backlit subjects and for focusing on the eyes in a portrait. This tells the camera what white looks like under different light conditions. Auto is often a good choice, or maybe choose daylight, shade, tungsten, etc. to avoid strange color casts. The general shooting modes are full auto, semi-automatic, which are aperture priority and shutter priority, and then full manual mode. Semi-automatic is a great place to start and a stepping stone from full auto to full manual. I'd advise you to learn where these settings live on your camera, practice adjusting them without looking, on the sofa, at your desk, in the dark or wherever, and make it muscle memory. I've actually had students come to the class expecting me to show them exactly how their camera works. To me, that's a bit like expecting the driving instructor to drive the car for you. That said, diving straight into manual can be overwhelming, and that's okay because we've all been there. That's why it's a good idea to start with semi-automatic modes. With aperture priority, you choose the aperture and the camera does the rest for you. It's great for portraits when you want that nice blurry background, or for landscapes when you want everything sharp from front to back. It's also ideal in consistent lighting like indoors or cloudy days where the lighting doesn't change. Here you choose a shutter speed and the camera balances the aperture. This is useful for freezing action like sports, wildlife or dancing for example, creating motion blur like waterfalls and light trails, and controlling camera shake when you're handheld. And each time you change one setting, see how it affects your picture and look at the result. How bright or how dark is the image? How sharp is the subject? What's in focus and what's not? This is where you start connecting what you see in the camera to what you get in the image, and that's when your confidence begins to build. Once that connection feels natural, then it's time to switch to manual mode and balance everything for yourself. Because when you know your camera, and I mean really know it, you're no longer at its mercy. You're not relying on auto to guess what you meant. You're not fiddling while the moment passes you by. You're making creative decisions with confidence. And that frees you up to think about the light, the story, the timing, the interesting stuff, instead of what button to press next. And it's definitely worth the effort. So here's the truth. A technician knows how to operate the camera. An artist uses it to say something. But you can't be the artist until you master the tools. Maybe think of it like this. Imagine a musician who's still thinking about chord shapes while performing. I'm sure you'd agree it's hard to pour feeling into a song when you're still focusing on your fingers. And once you know your camera like it's part of you, like an extra limb almost, it becomes invisible. It becomes just a tool for expressing what you see and what you want to capture. And that's when the magic really happens. Okay, so now it's time to put all this into action. This is a hands-on challenge that'll help you see and feel the effects of your camera settings. First of all, set your camera to Aperture priority mode and then photograph the same subject at various f-stops. Look closely at the background blur, what's in focus and how the light changes. And I'll have a go with this tiny little bee ornament. So by photographing it at f22, f16, f8, f4 and then f1.8, you can see by the time we open up to f1.8, even parts of this bee ornament is out of focus, never mind the background. And this is all down to depth of field, which is also affected by focal length and the distance your subject is from the background. So have a play and see what you can come up with. Then switch to shutter priority mode, and for this one, photograph a moving subject, maybe a person walking, a cyclist, or even something like this small fan of my granddaughter's. If I can get it working. There we go. So I shot it at 1/60th of a second, 1/200th, 1/500th, and 1/4000th of a second, which pretty much freezes it, and it may as well be turned off. When you do your version, compare the images and take note how motion is frozen or it's blurred. And this is how you train your eye, not by memorizing, but by getting out there and having a go. And we'd love to see your results. The Photography Foundations community over on School is the perfect place for you to share your images, get feedback and learn together. It's free, friendly, and with photographers who are right where you are. If you want to check it out, there's a link in the description for you. So here's something to remember. The camera is not the photographer. And it always makes me smile when you show someone one of your images and they say, "That's great, you must have a really good camera." I'm sure that comes under the heading of backhanded compliment. Anyway, the camera records what's there. It's you that decides what matters. Knowing your camera gives you options. It gives you efficiency. It gives you freedom. But most importantly, it gives you control. And when you're in control, you're confident. And when you're confident, you have far more chance of being creative. So hopefully all this is making sense. Let me know. So don't aim for perfection, aim for familiarity. Spend time with your camera until it feels natural, until you're not thinking about it, you're just using it. Know your camera like a musician knows their instrument. That's when photography stops being a technical task and becomes an art form. Knowing your camera isn't just technical, it's transformative, and it frees you to focus on seeing. And by the way, if you want a refresher on exposure, focus and composition, grab my ebook. It's linked in the description and totally free when you sign up for my newsletter. And if you do want to share your journey with others, get feedback, encouragement and weekly challenges, come join our Photography Foundation community over on School. It's free, friendly and focused on growth. In episode 3, we're tackling a big one, ensuring correct exposure. This is where the camera settings you've just learned really start to come to life. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in episode 3. Let's make photography simple, inspiring and fun. So until next week, take care and thanks for watching.